Hey, beautiful soul. You're listening to the Rising into Mindful Motherhood podcast, your weekly dose of fertility wisdom. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Wood. I'm a barefoot mama bear, pharmacist, and integrative fertility coach. This is your go-to podcast for all things to naturally nourish your fertility, embody womb healing, and reclaim your feminine power to accelerate your path to pregnancy. My expert guests and I will be having intentional conversations to discuss the many facets of a thriving, fertile foundation, natural wellness, and how we grow and transform as women on our journey to motherhood. So let's dive in, shall we? So today we're going to be talking about flourishing fertility, because to me, fertility is more than just getting a positive pregnancy test. And this is really my holistic approach to natural conception. Okay, so a little bit about me. My name is Katie, and I was initially trained as a pharmacist. I worked in retail pharmacy for about 8 years, and now I am an integrative holistic fertility coach. I'm also an author. My second book that I've co-authored is about to be released, and this month I will officially be an embodied womb practitioner. So I'm really excited to be bringing that into my practice for my clients. I like to call myself a barefoot mama bear. I live in upstate New York, so we have a lot of green, a lot of gorges. So I love being out in nature, hiking, gardening, lover of all animals. And in that picture there is my daughter, Olivia. She's about to be 5 in May. I don't know how that happened, but here we are. So I'm the founder of Happy Nourished Motherhood. That is where I do all of my fertility coaching. And I've also founded the Feminine Formula on Etsy. So that's where I do all of my fertility and hormonal essential oil blends. There's also some digital products and some real fun mama apparel and things like that. And I'm the podcast host of Rising into Mindful Motherhood. If you're on a fertility journey or you're thinking about it, I highly recommend checking that out. And really, my journey to motherhood has inspired me to make the shift from being a classical Western medicine pharmacist into being a more holistic practitioner. So just a little brief journey here. I graduated pharmacy school in 2013. And it was, I want to say, 2016 that I first realized and was introduced at how toxic our beauty care products can be. And I was a very loyal Bath and Body Works purchaser. So I was very surprised and sad that I had to throw out all of my Bath and Body Works, but it was really eye-opening and just like, oh my gosh, how do more people not know about this? Why are these products even being sold on the market? And having a pharmacist medical background, I do like to research into things. So just it felt like rabbit hole after rabbit hole I went into and just really began learning about what was really going on in our life, and that a lot of things weren't as quote unquote healthy or as safe as they were being led on to be. So I like to say that that was when I really started my healing journey. But fast forward to the end of 2017, when I had actually already made a lot of changes within our home, we decided that we were going to start trying for a baby. And I was coming off of 13 long consecutive years of birth control use. And I had a very, I like to say, naive expectation that I put on myself and our journey to get pregnant right away. And that did not happen. And that was very frustrating because as a high achiever, I am used to putting in the work and getting the result. And fertility does not work that way. I remember going to my OB at the time and asking for help and expressing concern, like I'm not getting pregnant. And she really just shrugged it off and you're healthy, keep trying. And Looking back, no labs were taken. Basically, they ask you the same typical questions every time you go into the appointment. And based off of my cycle being regular after birth control, how can you really know if someone is truly healthy? But I digress. So I had to really figure it out on my own. I knew as a healthcare provider that there must be some steps that I can take to improve my chances of conceiving. And in one of those rabbit holes, I found that acupuncture can be beneficial for fertility. Of course, I find an acupuncturist in Ithaca, and he ended up being just such a blessing to have on my journey, finally feeling seen and heard and just held by someone to really just help give me some sort of guidance while we were trying to get pregnant. So, of course, we used acupuncture, we were using traditional Chinese herbs and a few other modalities like moxa and gua sha, and just making very intentional changes to my diet and lifestyle. So, some of those included supporting my body, my personal constitution. I tend towards cold. So, we really focused on warming foods, keeping my womb warm, really limiting raw foods, making sure that they're at least gently cooked, healthy fats, all of these things. And a few months after, I did end up conceiving my daughter. I had a beautiful pregnancy all the way up to 41 weeks and 6 days. I went into labor and I had an empowering home birth. So, all this to say, I really learned how important it is to advocate for ourselves as women and the gap in healthcare that exists for women on this very intimate and sacred journey, whether you're trying to get pregnant during your pregnancy and in birth and postpartum. So, this really cultivated a deep, deep passion for wanting to help women on this beautiful journey to motherhood. So, that is why I'm here now. I no longer practicing conventional pharmacy, and I'm just loving what I do now to help women on their journey. So I'm super excited to dive in with you all. And I do like to say, if anyone's watching, that maybe you struggled in the past to conceive, or maybe you're experiencing secondary infertility, if you can take a step back and shift your mindset to your journey is happening to you, to actually shifting it to your journey is happening for you. Because I can tell you, I was not happy in retail pharmacy. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't passionate about it. And I do feel that the struggle to get pregnant really helped me get into this place that I'm in. And yeah, so just making that shift can be really powerful. For fertility foundations, one thing that I really love as an integrative practitioner is including the practical strategies and the energetic strategies. And being a pharmacist, and then also having a lot of these other alternative certifications and modalities, I get to marry them both, which I think is really unique. So, of course, with our practical strategies, proper nutrition and making sure that we're staying hydrated is extremely important. And then we also want to make sure that our sleep is optimized and we're minimizing stress and we're getting in that joyful movement and swapping any products that we can to really try to limit toxins and chemicals. And then, of course, there's labs and tailored supplements and learning about our menstrual cycle. But then we also have these beautiful energetic strategies such as womb healing and meditation and affirmations and emotional freedom technique, if you're familiar with that, and then the Eden energy method as well. So we're going to dive into all of these. So for lifestyle, so rest and self-care. I think that this sounds like such a simple strategy that a lot of times it will get brushed off, but it is actually one of the most important ones. So we live in such a fast-paced world and we don't allow ourselves to rest. And we actually will tend to shame ourselves when we do have to rest because our body stops us from moving anymore because we either get sick or something happens. So, really prioritizing this, aiming for minimum 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I think one thing that can be really fun is creating a nourishing bedtime routine. So, what would feel good to you? Reading a good book, whether it's like a personal development or maybe a romance novel, journaling, drinking a warm cup of tea, maybe doing an Epsom salt bath. Like the sky is the limit. It doesn't have to look the same every night. Mine varies. I have a red light that I'll use sometimes while I'm reading or journaling. It gets to be whatever you want it to be, but you can make it like this very indulgent practice that you get to enjoy every night. And performing regular acts of self care. A lot of times people assume massages or getting your nails done or your hair done, but it can be so many different things. I treated myself to a coffee body scrub this morning at a local spa because I'm going on vacation in 2 weeks. But it could be as simple as Mel decided, while she's on this call, she's going to be outside and absorb the beautiful sun and be immersed in nature instead of sitting in her office. So it can be as simple as that. And then, of course, stress and mindset. This is another very difficult one just because there's so much going on in our world. Our brains are highly overstimulated. I don't know if you guys ever feel that way. I was on my phone the other night and I just decided I'm tired. I can't even look at this anymore. I just need to go to bed. So that to me is my body telling me like, okay, this is too much artificial light and too much scrolling. Like you got to stop. So kind of going back to the bedtime routine, setting up boundaries in terms of that too. I stopped going on social media at 9 p.m. and that has been very helpful. But ideally, we want to improve your stress resilience and your nervous system response. So we all pretty much have very dysregulated nervous systems. We can get triggered very easily, whether it's someone pulling out in front of us while we're driving, or if you're trying to conceive, it could be getting into an argument with your husband or getting really triggered at someone sharing that they're pregnant and things like that. And when you're able to work on this and expand your capacity, you're going to be able to take a minute, ground yourself, and respond to the situation instead of reacting initially. And working on mindset is really shifting limiting beliefs. And you can do this with a lot of different things, but I find some of the easiest ones are with affirmations and gratitude. And then, of course, we have movement and exercise. Now, I work from home. I work from home with my 4-year-old. I am sitting down quite a bit as an entrepreneur. I'm on my computer a lot. So getting up regularly every hour or so, moving your body, maybe going up the stairs. But I also include gardening and doing laundry and cleaning the house and going up the stairs over and over again, whatever it may be. But then also we want to find joyful exercise, like what is going to make you feel good? What are you going to enjoy? It doesn't have to be 60 minutes of this like long, grueling exercise that you highly dislike and you feel like drained and burnt out after. So for me, I do 10 to 15-minute exercises at home. I like to keep it varied to keep it fun. I love yoga, Pilates. I have this Pilates bar that's really cool. I just started doing belly dancing over the last couple of months. I love lifting weights because I think feeling strong in your own body is just really, really an empowering feeling. Finding something that you're going to enjoy and be consistent with, because we want to increase that lymphatic drainage. We want to open up those detox pathways through sweating. And I have a tip for anyone: if you either don't want to pay for a gym membership or you live too far away from a gym like me, go to YouTube. There are so many different free exercises that I have playlists on my YouTube. I have a playlist for belly dancing. For my Pilates bar, I have some strength training ones. So there's so many options. And like I said, I just do 10 or 15 minutes because I don't have time anymore to do a 60-minute workout. And that's okay. And then cleaning up our environment. So I think it was the podcast episode I did with Mel. We really talked about this more in depth, but we want to reduce toxins and endocrine disruptors, right? We have certain things that we have control over when it comes to toxins, not everything, but really doing what you can by slowly swapping things out. So this could be your beauty products, your personal care products, your home products, your cleaning products. I like to say if you're completely new to swapping out, start slow, do a few things at a time. And to me, starting with things that are going to have the greatest impact. So anything that's touching your skin, whether that's a body wash, lotion, perfume, let's just get rid of the artificial fragrances altogether. Laundry detergent, if you use dryer sheets, throw those away, replace them with wool balls. You can put essential oils on them if you really need some sort of scent. And then definitely starting with cooking products. We want to get rid of the Teflon, the nonstick, the plastic Tupperware, and replacing it with cast iron, stainless steel, ceramic if it's a really good quality, and then glass Tupperware containers as well. And then we have functional medicine. Can't leave my pharmacist background and education behind, right? These are things I still get to utilize, which is fun. So when it comes to labs and testing, this can be helpful for addressing the physical root cause. So when it comes to fertility, this could look like what is causing your hormone imbalance? What's going on with your endometriosis, with your PCOS? Is your PCOS being driven by blood sugar imbalance? Is it post pill PCOS? There's lots of different things that are going on in the background. So we're really using this as a tool to guide us in a certain direction, basically on a map of your body, if you think of it that way. And something very important to remember is it's just a snippet of a very specific point in time. So you're only getting your blood drawn on that one day, right? That doesn't mean that your body is necessarily broken or always that out of balance. So, for example, I just did a Dutch test and I just got the results yesterday, and my cortisol levels were low, which I'm not really super surprised they were low the last time I did one, but I've been feeling great. I haven't even been having to take my adaptogenic supplements in the morning. I take it with a grain of salt, like maybe perhaps the day that I did the saliva test, my cortisol wasn't that great, but I'm not going to make it be my truth or like it's the end all be all. It's not so black and white, is what I'm trying to say. And then we have herbs and supplements, which can be really cool. Of course, tailored to the client's needs. And I like to remind my clients this is just a temporary bridge to an existing gap. So whether it's a nutrient deficiency or maybe you need help with methylation, things like that. It's not going to be like something that you're going to have to take for the rest of your life, hopefully. And then, of course, it's not a replacement for a poor lifestyle or nutrition. You have to be doing all of these things together to get the most optimal outcomes. And then we have the fertility awareness method. Like I had mentioned, cycle tracking for women. I think this is important for any woman who is cycling. This is your fifth vital sign. It's a health report card. You are going to really know when something is off in your body. When you're tracking your cycle for a certain time and you realize, oh, I ovulated later than I typically do. Were you sick? Were you traveling? Did like a real stressful event happen in your life? Or let's say you stop ovulating altogether. Unless you're in menopause, that's not normal. That means we need to dig a little bit deeper and see what's going on. Or maybe you have really bad PMS, heavy periods, maybe clotting. That is definitely a sign that something is going on. So, one thing that I really, really love about being a woman is that we're very cyclical. And I really wasn't connected to this for the majority of my life because I was on birth control. I was on birth control from 15 to, was it age 28, I think? And I'm about to be 35. So I've been off of birth control. It's been a real beautiful way to connect with myself. So we have four main phases in our cycle, or also seasons, you can look at them as. I live in New York, so I experience all four seasons. So for me, I can really relate to these. So your cycle starts on the first day of actual bleeding. So that's the menstruation phase, or also known as the winter. Okay, so think about what you do in the winter, or at least what I do here in New York, and I know Mel does, maybe not so much when you're in Florida or something like that, but you want to hibernate a little bit and slow down and stay inside, and you're not as active and things like that. So that's pretty similar to when we have our menstruation phase. And then you lead into the follicular phase, or spring, which is the season that I'm in now, at least. And this is a beautiful phase of like building, right? We're planting seeds. There's going to be a lot of rebirth, renewal, and our body, similarly, is prepping and getting ready to release our hormones necessary for ovulation. And then we have our ovulation phase, or summer. You can think about the seeds that you planted in spring. Now they're in blossom right now. So during the ovulation phase, you can definitely find that you have a lot more energy. You're feeling a lot more outgoing. If you're someone like Mel or I, doing presentations such as this during your ovulation phase can feel really good and easy. You definitely just have more energy overall. And then when you go into the luteal phase, I like to think of it as this, like the first week in the luteal phase is like September, early October, where it's still nice out, there's still a lot of daylight, and you still have that energy coming off of your ovulation. But then when you get into the second half of the luteal phase, your energy starts waning a little bit, the leaves are falling, you want to be a little bit more introverted at this point in time, and then the cycle starts all over again. So, despite what some of us maybe were taught in school, there's really a very limited window in a woman's cycle that you can actually get pregnant. And that's known as the fertile window, and it consists of about 6 days. So, 5 days leading up to, and then the day of ovulation. So, once you ovulate, that egg is only going to be viable for about 12 to 24 hours. And what's really important is to track your cycle so you can figure out when your fertile window is, but then also going back to that health report card, you're going to be alerted if something is off. Whereas it's really easy to forget when you ovulated, when you had your last period, if you're not tracking it in some way, shape, or form. So we want to use natural signs. Now, there's a lot of natural signs we can look for. The one I'm going to talk about today is fertile cervical mucus. So, if anyone that's watching, if you're on birth control, a lot of this won't necessarily relate for you, but this is when you're cycling naturally and we don't have any hormones replacement. So, fertile cervical mucus is typically clear and it resembles egg whites. So it's going to be really, really stretchy, and it happens in the few days leading up to ovulation, and typically on the day of ovulation. It's really the rise in estrogen that's causing our body to make this perfect vehicle to bring the sperm up to the fallopian tubes, waiting for the egg to be released. And then another sign that we look for is an increase in basal body temperature. So in the follicular phase, our temperatures are typically lower. If you're healthy and there's not really anything else going on, typically this is going to be in the 97-degree range. And then after you ovulate, it's the release in progesterone that's going to increase your basal body temperature. And you're going to notice this when you're tracking your temperature. So it should go up at least half a degree. So we're looking at the 98-degree temperature range. And what you want to see is you want to see that shift, and you want it to be steady until either you confirm pregnancy, or if you're going to start a new cycle, your hormones are going to go down and your temperature is going to go down. And then again, hormonal imbalances and physical symptoms, these are going to actually be indicative of underlying energetic distortions in the body. And we're going to get into this a little bit more. But if you think back to what I had mentioned about the testing, doing tests like Dutch testing and things like that, that's going to help us with our physical body in pinpointing. But there's also an energetic portion to this as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rising into Mindful Motherhood podcast. If this episode resonated with you or gave you an aha moment, stop what you're doing right now and write a review. This simple act of kindness helps me get this podcast out to connect with as many women as I possibly can. I also have a special offer. If you send me a screenshot of your review, I will take $250 off one of my premium coaching containers. Let me know what resonated with you the most and why. So connect with me in my free Facebook community or tag me on Instagram. You'll find both listed below. Thanks again from the bottom of my heart for tuning in to this episode, and I'll see you next time.